Hey there, nostalgia lovers! Welcome to Nostalgia Area. Think your parents told you all the stories about their childhood? They probably skipped the part about the explosions, the toxic fumes, and the flying projectiles, because who really wants to admit they survived their own toy box? For much of the 20th century, playtime wasn't just fun, it was risky. Many of the era's most popular toys weren't simply poorly designed by today's standards, they were genuinely hazardous in ways that would be unthinkable now. These weren't just toys. They were products built in a time before modern safety regulations, before warning labels covered half the box, and before anyone thought to ask, what happens if a child puts this in their mouth? Today, we're counting down 10 real toys that became infamous not for the fun they provided, but for the injuries, recalls, and safety revolutions they helped create. We'll start with a modern entry that proves dangerous toys weren't just a thing of the distant past. In 2007, at the height of the CSI television craze, kids could play detective with their very own CSI fingerprint examination kit.
It's the CSI Crime Scene Investigation Lab.
The set included tools to dust for fingerprints just like on the show. The problem was the fingerprint powder. Testing later revealed that the powder contained tremolite asbestos, a particularly dangerous form of asbestos. Exposure to even small amounts of asbestos has been linked to serious lung diseases, including cancer. After the Asbestos Disease Awareness Organization brought attention to the issue, the kits were quickly pulled from shelves. Parents who thought they were buying a science toy discovered they had unknowingly brought a known carcinogen into their homes. In 1996, the Cabbage Patch Kids line introduced the Snacktime Kids doll.
Cabbage Patch Kids Snacktime Kit comes with all the play food you see here, each sold separately.
The concept seemed harmless. The doll had a battery-powered mouth that could eat plastic snacks. Unfortunately, it could also eat anything else. The motor inside the doll's jaw was strong, continuous, and had no automatic shutoff. The doll couldn't tell the difference between its plastic fries and a child's finger or hair. Reports began pouring in of dolls grabbing onto fingers and refusing to let go. In several cases, children's hair became tangled in the mechanism and parents had to cut the doll free. Mattel received dozens of complaints in a short period and voluntarily withdrew the product, offering refunds to customers. What was supposed to be an interactive feeding toy turned into a lesson in why moving mechanical parts and children's hands don't mix. Sky Dancers were beautiful fairy dolls with a clever gimmick.
They are my Sky Dancers. These are over 20 years old, believe it or not, or maybe.
You place the doll on a launcher, pull the cord, and the doll would spin into the air like a tiny helicopter. In theory. In practice, the dolls flew fast and unpredictably. The hard plastic wings turned into spinning projectiles that frequently veered off course and straight into faces. The Consumer Product Safety Commission received around 150 reports of injuries, including scratched corneas, facial cuts, broken teeth, and temporary vision loss. After nearly 9 million units were sold, the dolls were recalled in 2000. What looked magical in commercials behaved very differently in living rooms. Moon shoes promised kids the feeling of walking in low gravity.
The first moon shoes were actually introduced to kids in the 1950s.
They were essentially small trampolines strapped to your feet with elastic bands. The issue was stability. Once your primary tools for balance are mounted on springy platforms, walking becomes unpredictable. Falls were common, and the toy developed a reputation for causing sprains, twisted ankles, and crashes into furniture. Moon shoes were never officially recalled, but they remain a classic example of a fun concept that didn't fully account for basic physics. In the late 1970s, Battlestar Galactica inspired a popular line of toys, including a Colonial Viper spaceship with a spring-loaded missile launcher.
The scaled-down Colonial Viper for those figures.
In December 1978, a 4-year-old boy tragically died after placing one of the small red missiles in his mouth and choking on it. The incident led Mattel to issue a recall. asking consumers to mail back the missiles in exchange for a free Hot Wheels car. This tragedy became a turning point in toy safety history and directly influenced the now familiar choking hazard warnings found on toys with small parts. The original Easy Bake Oven from 1963 used a 100-watt light bulb to generate heat and became a beloved classic. But in 2006, a redesign introduced a front-loading slot that created an unexpected hazard. Children's fingers could easily become trapped in the opening while trying to retrieve food.
Apparently in 2006, this thing trapped kids' fingers inside, resulting in third-degree burn.
The company received hundreds of reports of fingers getting stuck, many resulting in burns. In one severe case, a young girl's injury was serious enough to require partial amputation of a finger. More than 1 million units were recalled, and the design was changed. A toy famous for teaching kids to bake had to be redesigned to stop trapping their hands. Mattel's Thingmaker, better known as Creepy Crawlers, allowed kids to pour liquid plastic called plastic goop into metal molds and heat them on a small electric hot plate to create rubbery insects. The hot plate reached temperatures close to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. Unsurprisingly, numerous reports of burns followed as children touched the heated molds or surface. In addition to burn risk, concerns were raised about the fumes produced when heating the plastic material. The toy was eventually discontinued, but it remains one of the clearest examples of how comfortable manufacturers once were giving children access to extremely hot equipment in the name of creativity. Clackers were simple. 2 hard acrylic balls on a string that you swung up and down so they struck each other, creating a loud clacking sound.
Why does that make me wince?
The problem was material stress. Over time, the acrylic balls could develop tiny fractures. When they shattered mid-swing, sharp fragments would fly outward at high speed. Eye injuries and cuts became common. The FDA eventually classified them as a mechanical hazard, leading to a famous 1976 court case with the unforgettable name United States versus article consisting of 50,000 cardboard boxes more or less, each containing 1 pair of clacker balls. Perhaps the most astonishing toy ever sold, the Gilbert U-238 Atomic Energy Lab,
The Atomic Energy Lab Kit by A.C. Gilbert,
was marketed as a real science kit for children. It came with a Geiger counter, a cloud chamber, and small samples of actual uranium ore sealed in glass jars. The set aimed to teach kids about nuclear physics during the early days of the atomic age. There were warning labels advising children not to open the uranium containers. But by modern standards, the idea of including radioactive material in a toy kit is difficult to imagine. The set sold poorly due to its high price, but it remains legendary for how far toy companies once went in the name of educational realism. No toy on this list has a more tragic legacy than lawn darts.
One of the most dangerous toys, if not the most dangerous toy ever sold to kids.
Marketed as a backyard game, lawn darts were heavy, foot-long projectiles with sharp metal tips that players tossed toward a plastic ring target on the ground. They were, in essence, small spears. Between 1978 and 1986, an estimated 6,100 people were treated in emergency rooms for lawn dart injuries. Many of the victims were children. The final turning point came in 1987 when a 7-year-old girl named Michelle Snow was struck in the head and killed. Her father, David Snow, began a determined campaign that ultimately led the Consumer Product Safety Commission to ban lawn darts with pointed tips in the United States in 1988. The burns, eye injuries, choking incidents, and tragedies caused by toys like these didn't just fade into history, they sparked change. Public pressure and incidents like these led to the Child Protection and Toy Safety Act of 1969, which gave federal regulators the authority to ban toys with electrical, mechanical, and thermal hazards. This momentum helped lead to the creation of the Consumer Product Safety Commission in 1972. The warning labels, age recommendations, and safety testing standards we see today were written in response to real events involving real children. So the next time you see a tiny choking hazard label on a toy, remember, it's there because at some point in the past, a toy proved exactly why it was needed. Playtime used to be about fun and a surprising amount of risk. Today, it's about fun and safety. And we have some truly unforgettable toys to thank for that change. If you enjoyed this trip back to the more questionable side of childhood, make sure to hit like and subscribe to Nostalgia Area for more deep dives into the strange, surprising, and sometimes unbelievable stories hiding in our past. And let us know in the comments, which of these toys did you actually have? Or were you brave enough to avoid? Thanks for watching, and until next time, stay nostalgic.